Two things I'm hearing at the doors when I talk to voters about the state of the government when it comes to this coming election. And a couple of things people are saying are there's this sense that there's just, they're sick of paying for things. They feel like things are unaffordable. They feel like the government is squandering money. Now, that is just a general sense, and that sense would be right. It is up to me here on videos like this to help distill some information and explain to you exactly why you're feeling that way and how it is correct in a lot of ways. But here's something that is not correct. A lot of people feel like our province is broke. We don't have enough money in the coffers to take care of people, to provide for the housing crisis, the medical crisis, the policing crisis, rising food costs, and the food bank crises that we are seeing in our communities. And that, my friends, is not true. I'm very happy to say New Brunswick is doing well in terms of revenue. And this might feel like Groundhog Day. You might be saying, well, Mark, is this a repeat? Am I watching an old video of Mark because he's telling me, and yes, that's what I'm about to say, today, the budget, it was found that with regards to the provincial budget, there was a $500 million surplus last year. Okay, now I know that sounds great and everything, and that's not what today's episode is about. I might get into this another time. But this means that this government cannot do accounting because a surplus sounds great. But again, as a business owner who owns a corporation myself, I know that if I am messing up my estimates that badly, or that money is sitting there not being spent, I'm failing on both counts. Friends, we do have the resources to improve all of the 5 services that I'm talking about with regards to what I want to make happen in Saint Croix and bring back the needs that we have so that we feel safe and fulfill those things on a government level. And that's why today I want to get into how you are paying something called a carbon adjuster. I don't even know if you are aware, but yesterday I set the groundwork for exactly how I want to explain that today. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to you exactly about how you are paying out of your pocket to supplement Irving Oil, which is a massively profitable corporation in our province, and it is a private corporation. Okay, here goes. A couple of years ago, the federal government, in fact, no, not a couple of years ago, because it took 7 years to negotiate. So many years ago, the federal government started saying and warning the provinces that it intends on passing regulation that will cause fuel producers and fuel importers to clean up their methods and reduce their carbon emissions. Okay, there's no secret about that. The federal government has made that clear in a part of their mandate to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, less pollution, less carbon, all that stuff. Okay, we're not going to get into how you feel about that here. That is just a fact. So over 7 years with the provinces, with people in the industry and with stakeholders, the federal government negotiated and worked out a way that this would happen on a provincial level, and how it would force, essentially, incentivize, but through penalties, producers and importers of fuel to improve their methods. Well, last year, it was announced that this would take effect. And this is called the Clean Fuel Regulations. You can look it up on the Government of Canada website. Clean Fuel Regulations, again, are going to clean up fuel production on a provincial level. Well, Irving decided to lobby the provincial government. And what they said was, well, this is going to cost us more money, right? And that was the intention. Again, negotiated over 7 years with people at the table in the industry. And that was the point. In order to get companies to become more efficient in how they do business, how they refine fuel, how they move and transport fuel, they would need to start complying with those regulations over time. There were many, many options given to the fuel producers and importers, such as Irving Oil. But Irving Oil, instead of other companies across Canada, again, this was national, instead of like other companies saying, okay, we better get cracking, we better improve how we do business. That was my timer. So this is definitely going to be a two-parter at least. They went to our current government, a friend of Irving, of course. Our current premier was an employee of Irving, so they know where they can go. They lobbied our government and basically said, they used a formula, and you can look up and get into the weeds of that. We won't hear today. But they used a formula that essentially came to the conclusion that the maximum amount of money that they would need to get subsidized to supplement the loss that they would incur from these federal regulations was about 7 cents a liter of fuel at the pumps. Basically, they refine fuel, they sell that fuel to wholesalers like Esso and Shell and all the gas companies that you pull up to a gas station, that is a gas seller. And so they said, well, it's going to cost us money to clean this up. And our government, instead of saying, well, yes, that is the point, you need, as a company, to become more efficient. You are a profitable company. Okay. Irving has enjoyed 36% increase in its profit margins, 36% between 2019 and 2022. Okay. So this is not a company that's hurting. This is not an industry that's hurting. However, the provincial government said, okay, we will help you. Now, how does a government help? Right? A government helps by charging tax. That I hear this at the doors. There's no such thing as government funding, it's taxpayer funding. That is true. Okay. So that means you and I, with our income tax, are supplementing we are paying the $13.3 billion budget of this province. In addition to that, the government enacted something called a carbon adjuster. And again, this is a majority government, so they are able to do things like that. And they passed this carbon adjuster, which then allowed the Energy and Utilities Board to add that 7 cents. And this is the formula they agreed upon. It was way too high, by the way. This is the consensus. But 7 cents last July 7th, at the pumps, gas went up, and that was a direct result of this government allowing the Energy and Utilities Board. They created the loophole, and the board complied and obliged. And now you and I are paying, and it fluctuates. So that's where we're going to end today. And I want to talk about the fallout and more implications of this. But we are paying, it started at 7 cents. Now it's about 3.5 cents. We are paying directly for Irving not to clean up its fuel. It was supposed to be incentivized to reduce its pollution and its emissions and to get more, to pivot with the whole market essentially, to modernize its way of doing things. And instead of that happening, this is why it just feels like a double slap in the face. Instead of oil companies sophisticating their methods, we are actually paying them not to. I'm just going to leave that with you as the voter. It is time for change. And when we are talking about feeling like we don't have money in our budget to help the most vulnerable, get our medical system back, enact housing regulations and measures to help people, and when you feel like, boy, costs are going up, I wonder why, just remember things like that. Not the most exciting note to end on, but I know you want change. That's the kind of change that Greens are going to bring, and we do not allow people to be pinched in order to subsidize private companies, corporations that are posting hundreds of $1 million in profits. Join me tomorrow. We'll get a little bit more into it, including how cabinet members in the Conservative government objected. Yes, not all heroes wear capes, and they do wear blue